Hey there, guys. So I want to thank you, as always, for joining today's live stream. So, of course, the topic for today is active versus passive recovery, when to rest and when to move. Before I do get started, though, guys, I do want to mention my website, which is bponlinefitness.com. Ton of information on there as it relates to online fitness coaching. You can also check out some more information related to various different topics on fitness and nutrition on my blog, as well as signing up to my email newsletter that I send out each and every week. So definitely check that out. So, with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get started with talking about this topic, which is known as active and passive recovery. So, the few different topics that I'm going to go over today are going to range, but what we're going to primarily focus on is understanding the difference between these two types of recovery methods and what they are, as well as explaining why recovery matters. So, we're going to go over, of course, what is active recovery, the benefits of active recovery, some examples of what active recovery is, as well as what is passive and what is the benefits of passive recovery, and when to choose active versus passive recovery. So, this topic is very, it's a very detailed topic in a lot of ways because we are talking about two different points that can kind of seem like they sort of are the same, but they're actually not. So recovery works in a lot of different ways, and it's not just a sort of linear thing to think about. So recovery is a critical component of any fitness or athletic regimen. So it ensures that your body repairs itself, prevents injuries, and improves overall performance. Understanding the differences between active and passive recovery can help individuals optimize their training results. So one thing that a lot of people are not aware of, especially when we're talking about, the topic of muscle gain, is that it's not only about your workouts and your nutrition, but also about what you do in your recovery process. So this is included in a lot of different ways, and I'm going to touch on it more, but sleep plays a role as well as, how you do maybe like any post-workout sort of like foam rolling or any kind of, stretching that sort of aids in the recovery process as well. There's a lot of different components, and I'm going to explain that. But just know that muscle repair and growth isn't just about workouts and nutrition, but it is about your recovery as well. So, muscle repair and growth. So, recovery allows muscles to rebuild and grow stronger after intense workouts. Injury prevention. So, this is recovery also helps with injury prevention, which is overtraining. Overtraining without proper recovery increases the risk of strains, fatigue, or also long term damage. It can also help to enhance your performance in your workouts and your exercises. Well recovered muscles and systems improve strength, endurance, and agility, of course, more effectively. Mental rejuvenation. So, recovery isn't just physical, it helps reduce stress and maintain motivation. So, the more that you have your recovery in check, the more you're going to be able to not only perform well, but be mentally prepared for what you are going to do in your exercise and your overall routine. So, what is active recovery? Active recovery is a recovery method that involves engaging in low intensity physical activities to enhance muscle recovery, reduce soreness, and promote overall mobility without placing excessive stress on the body. Active recovery is something that I usually recommend my clients do pretty often. And the reason being is that active recovery is not the same as your normal rest day. In other words, with active recovery, you're still incorporating light exercise in your routine. You're not necessarily going into a full-blown exercise, but you're doing more low intensity types of exercises. And this can involve, anything like, body weight top exercises, anything that's really low intensity, any kind of stretching, foam rolling. This is all kind of in the vein of active recovery. And you could also include, light cardio exercise as sort of a, example of active recovery. So active recovery actually helps in a lot of ways. So it's going to enhance blood circulation to improve oxygen and nutrient delivery to muscles for faster healing. Again, this helps to improve the recovery process. It reduces muscle soreness, helps to decrease lactic acid buildup, reducing stiffness and discomfort. Muscle soreness is something that you'll feel if you're not used to, maybe specific exercises or your body is adjusting to your workouts. Sometimes you'll feel muscle soreness. And even then, in your normal routine, it can still help to include, active recovery, like any kind of foam rolling and stretching is going to help alleviate that muscle soreness. Especially like when we're talking about foam rolling, there is foam rolling for every specific type of muscle. So if you stretch out that muscle, it's going to help with, not only, of course, that muscle soreness, but it's helping with that recovery process as well. It's also going to improve flexibility and mobility. Of course, with active recovery, you're doing a lot of stretching, you're doing a lot of foam rolling based exercises, you may be doing cardio. So it's going to help with you being able to perform more effective movement patterns and helping in turn in your normal workout routine. So you're going to maintain movement patterns and prevent stiffness when you're incorporating active recovery in your routine. It also prevents injury. So keeping muscles and joints engaged, even of course when you're focusing on, active recovery during a rest day, is going to lower that risk of tightness and reduce the risk of any related injuries to those particular muscles. And this is again one reason why I always recommend my clients, really, do any kind of stretching or any kind of foam rolling on, any stiff muscles that they have on those rest days, because it does help with that recovery process. So this is what active recovery is. So there's many different benefits outside of what I just discussed on what is active recovery. So again, you're going to enhance blood circulation. You're going to reduce muscle soreness. You're going to prevent that stiffness and injury. You're going to speed up recovery and you're going to boost mental relaxation as well. It's not only a physical part of your routine, but also a mental part of your routine as well. So again, it's going to promote oxygen and nutrient delivery to the muscles. It's going to help flush out lactic acid and metabolic waste. It's going to maintain flexibility and joint mobility. And it's going to support, of course, muscle repair without overexertion of those muscles to speed up the recovery process. And at the same time, when you do this, especially like stretching or anything, any kind of stretches and any sort of light exercise is going to be a little bit more, you know, promote a little bit more mindfulness in your routine. So it helps in that way as well. So just keep these points in mind as far as the benefits of active recovery. So again, I did sort of touch a little bit on some of the examples of active recovery, but I do want to mention to give you a sort of visual on what these examples are. So this includes low intensity cardio. So low intensity cardio helps to improve circulation and reduce soreness. So this is walking 10 to 30 minutes, or this could also be jogging at a slow pace, 10 to 20 minutes. Again, you're doing these in low intensity. You're not doing a run, you're not doing anything really excessive. This is just light cardio. Mobility and stretching, of course, this is helping to increase flexibility and prevent stiffness. This can include dynamic stretches. Dynamic stretching is basically any exercise that is pretty much you're doing. So, for example, you have static and dynamic stretches. So with static stretches, usually you're holding a position, you're stretching a muscle for an extended period of time for like 30 seconds. Whereas with dynamic stretching, you're actually doing a little bit of movement in that stretch. So with dynamic stretching, you can do basically two different ways of, a specific stretch. You could do it static where you're just holding that muscle, or you could do it dynamic where you are including a little bit of movement. I know that there's like a hip flexor dynamic stretch where if you're doing a normal hip flexor stretch, you would actually be doing you'd be holding a lunge top position. Whereas if you're doing more of a, dynamic hip flexor stretch, you would be moving forward sort of like you would do a forward lunge, except you would be doing a slower movement pattern, if that makes sense. I wish I would have put more of a visual of this, but really just sort of visualize the difference there, where static stretching is where you're holding a stretch, and dynamic is where you're adding a little bit of movement to that stretch. So that's basically the difference there. So that's what dynamic stretching is to give you a better understanding of that. Foam rolling and myofascial release, these are both basically the same terms. Basically, what foam rolling is helping to, again, stretching the muscle. It helps to alleviate any sort of, muscle soreness that you have. Foam rolling is, in a way, a mix of both static and dynamic stretching because what you're doing with the foam roller is that you're actually trying to find the muscle that you're wanting to stretch. So with a foam roller, you can stretch various different muscles. This could be triceps, chest, back, lower back. I mean, any particular muscle you want to stretch, you can stretch that muscle using a foam roller. And so with this, basically, you're going to try to find the tender spot in where you're feeling stiffness in that muscle. And as you're getting to that spot to where you're finding that, sort of tenderness, then you would basically hold that stretch of that muscle and with the foam roller and sort of stretch that muscle out. So that's basically how the foam roller works. Again, there's different exercises, but basically what you do, of course, is just to roll over that muscle, try to find that muscle and sort of stretch that muscle out with the foam roller. Again, in the future, I'm going to show more visuals of these so you get a better idea and know exactly how these work. But just sort of picture that, of course, a foam roller again is like just the way that I describe it is it's just like a styrofoam piece of equipment that you use. It can be a harder styrofoam or there's different types of materials that make up foam rollers. But again, it's just used primarily for stretching and preventing stiffness and helping with that muscle soreness. So moving on, we've got body weight and light resistance training. So this engages muscles without excessive strain. So again, like I mentioned, body weight workouts, you've got body weight squats, lunges, you could use resistance bands. That can be a good addition to, active recovery routine. You could do core workouts such as planks, bridges, anything that's low intensity. You can still do those types of exercises, and you can still add a little bit of resistance as long as it's light resistance. So these are all examples of active recovery to include in a rest day. So what is passive recovery? Passive recovery involves complete rest and non-exertional activities that allows the muscles to fully repair, rebuild, and grow after intense training. So again, passive recovery is the direct opposite here. So passive recovery has benefits as well. So muscle repair and growth. So of course, rest is going to allow muscle fibers to recover and hypertrophy growth to occur. It's also going to boost strength and performance. Overtraining without rest can lead to plateaus and fatigue. That's one really important thing to keep in mind with passive recovery. If you are doing a workout routine and you're just going full force and you're just, into it for, if you're working out like 5 days a week or working out sort of in that range, that's when you probably need to incorporate passive recovery so that you sort of understand the difference there. If you are somebody who maybe has a little bit, maybe your exercises are sort of spread out a little bit more, maybe you want to focus a little bit more on active recovery. So it's sort of dependent on, your overall routine on whether you focus on this. And I'll discuss a little bit towards the end on sort of deciding what to choose when it comes to your rest days. So this also helps with hormone regulation. So again, like I mentioned, sleep is very important with the recovery process. So deep sleep increases growth hormone and testosterone for recovery. It also helps to prevent injuries and, of course, the overtraining, avoid chronic fatigue, joint pain, and muscle breakdown. So passive recovery has its benefits. And again, when you think of passive recovery, you think of it as more of just really less exercise on a rest day, in other words. So again, it enhances muscle growth. Rest allows muscle fibers to repair and rebuild stronger after intense training, prevents overtraining and injuries, reducing muscle fatigue, joint stress, and risk of burnout. It improves hormonal balance again, growth hormone and testosterone for muscle recovery, and it's boosting your performance. A well-rested body lifts heavier, moves faster, and sustains endurance longer. So you're going to boost that performance as well when you're incorporating passive recovery. It's going to support mental and physical health again, reduce stress and improve mood, and enhances focus. So you're kind of seeing sort of the difference between these two and how these two are sort of connected in a way. So when exactly do you choose active or passive recovery? So, like I just mentioned, it's all dependent on your routine and what you're focusing on that particular day. So, if you're having mild muscle soreness, if you really aren't having that much muscle soreness, you're not having really any stiffness, then you may want to focus on active recovery. So, lot movement, of course, helps to reduce stiffness, improve blood flow. After moderate workouts, keep muscles engaged without adding excessive strain. So, still post workout, still doing stretching can still be beneficial and, prevent you from, of course, going into overtraining, of course, at the same time. But again, if you're just feeling like, your body's not overly strained and that you're not, really having a lot of soreness, then this is when you should incorporate active recovery and focus on light activity, light stretching, foam rolling, anything of that sort is when you need to focus on that. When to choose passive recovery? Okay, this is after any intense workouts, so heavy lifting, high intensity training that requires full rest for muscle repair. If you're doing really excessive, exercises, really, long duration top exercises, then this is when you want to focus on more of the passive recovery side of things. Extreme fatigue or burnout, if you're just really fatigued and you're, just feel like you're going through a feeling of burnout, then this is very important. If you're, really persistently tired in your overall routine, this may mean that you need to maybe add an extra rest day and focus primarily on passive recovery, giving your body a little bit more rest. Again, this is really focused on if you're really, excessively like just doing a ton of, activity and your body is just really sore and you're just really stiff. And that's when you want to include this in your routine. Alrighty, guys. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I do have my information here on if you have any questions about, anything related to online coaching or online fitness training. My number is here as well. Again, you can visit bponlinefitness.com where I share more information on fitness and nutrition. I do want to mention another thing. I do have a video that I'm working on for YouTube. This isn't going to be a live stream in particular, but I'm working on a video where I'm talking a little bit about carbs. So I'm trying to make extra videos to where they're sort of in between my live stream and my shorts to where basically I'm trying to make these 5 to 10 minute videos in between so that you guys have something that's not so long form, but that you have something that's a little bit shorter and more condensed, but also gives you good information. And that's what I'm trying to work on now. I do have a video I'm working on talking about carbs, and I'm gonna have that out shortly. I'm working on editing it at the moment. But I've already started working on it and I should have it posted pretty soon, I would say within the next week, but I don't want to promise anything yet. But I did want to mention that. So thank you guys once again for taking the time to check out this live stream. Again, you can check out all my other live streams on my YouTube channel. I do archive all these so you can check these out. If you have any questions about anything I discussed, feel free to let me know. But with all that being said, guys, thank you for taking the time to check this live stream out. I hope that you found it helpful and valuable. And I'll see you guys in the next live stream next Wednesday at 12 p.m.